Hello and welcome to another episode of Wife for Life. I'm Michelle McElroy and I am so excited to share with you my guest today. Y'all don't want to miss this. Hang on tight. Here she comes. Hey, Dawn.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I am awesome now that you are here. Listen, guys, this is my next guest. She is a fabulous, dynamic woman. As you will see, she is a great wife for life and she is a mother. I'm not going to even tell you any more about the fabulous Dawn Swayne. Dawn, tell them a little bit about yourself.
So I am Dawn Swayne. I am a certified life coach and life management specialist. I have been married to my son, my husband, Harry, for 25 years. So that is a quarter of a century. Harry played in the league for 15 years and he has 3 Super Bowl rings, 4 Super Bowl appearances. And he also worked in the front office. He was the director of player engagement for the Ravens for 11 years. And now he has moved into HR and the corporate space. We have 5 children, ages 23, 21, 18, 16, and 14. Tosca, Chris, Sherry, Nina, and Rod. And those 6 people are the loves of my life.
Oh, I love that. And also, not to mention your husband and both of you guys actually were chaplains for the Bears for some years. How long were you doing that?
We did that for about 5.5 to 6 years.
Awesome. And by the way, guys, that's how I met Dawn. Harry and my husband did not play together, but Harry used to bring Ray in for guest chaplaincies sometimes for the Bears and for visiting teams. Yep. And then they built that bond from there. And so when Harry and Dawn moved on to their next season of life, Harry requested that Ray consider the position. And of course, Ray said, babe, this takes both of us. And I was like, were you like that too, Dawn, at first? Like,
oh, I was like, I'm not going. I'm not going to go be a chaplain's wife. Like, what? I'm not being a chaplain. I don't know. I told God I wasn't going.
That's yes. Right. And how did that work out for you?
Yeah, he had me pull over on the side of the road. I was listening to a Fred Hammond song. He had me pull over on the side of the road and he just asked me, he said, daughter, I'm not asking you to be anything that you don't want to be. I'm just asking, will you go? Will you go for me? And that's where I said, okay, Father, here I am, send me.
Man, that's
it was awesome.
Would you say?
It was awesome. He was right. It was amazing. It was an amazing 5 years.
Yes. And ironically, it was 5 years for us too. And it was an amazing journey that I was so grateful that I said yes to, that I was obedient and did what God was calling us to do during that time, because it was very rewarding, I feel personally, but also building those relationships and giving back to the next group of players and their wives was phenomenal. And I think sparked what I'm doing today. So I'm so grateful for you and Harry. You guys really set us up for success. And I appreciate you guys so much.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Because it's the trenches. It's the spiritual trenches and professional ministry like that.
Yes, it is. And speaking of which, I always like to kick it off with my wives and ask, how did your husband's profession, starting off with football, obviously, but then graduating on to ministry and office, front office work, because doing that with the team is rigorous, I know.
Yes.
So tell us, how did that impact your marriage?
I think in good ways and in challenging ways. On the one hand, the work is so meaningful. The front office work that Harry was doing in player engagement was so meaningful, the way that he approached it. So his ability to build into men, to pour into them, to not just call them out, but call them up. That space that he created in player engagement, it was a good thing for our marriage, because it is a good thing to see your spouse walking in God's gift for them.
Mm.
That is a beautiful, beautiful space.
Yes.
And then with playing, I mean, the great thing about playing was I was always amazed at Harry's athletic gifting. I don't have an athletic bone in my body. I don't understand. I don't like to sweat. I don't like to, I don't like to do any of those things. And so I loved that it helped me to develop a deeper respect, because I really kind of came into this like game, like pun intended, thinking that athletes were dumb jocks.
Ooh.
And it's why I didn't want to date Harry, a whole lifetime ago.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it helped me to understand the different iterations of manhood, what that gifting looked like, and it helped me to respect him more. And of course, the money was good. That was also a very good thing about Harry's career, especially in the NFL on that side. I think some of the challenges were obviously with 5 kids. We had five kids under the age of 8. So we came to Chicago with 2 kids, and in 5 years we left with 5 kids. And I was pregnant or nursing for a decade, basically.
Oh my God.
And that was very hard because of the time that he was away. Every weekend, I mean, because you got a whole gaggle of kids too, just, what are we going to do for the weekend? Those things were very challenging for me as a mother. And then I think because he was gone so much, and because his profession was so intense, both of those professions so intense, they require so much energy, and there's so much drama, and there's so much crap, that our communication really suffered, because I didn't have a lot of energy, because what I was doing for what God called me to do, he didn't have a lot of energy. So we just didn't have very good communication in that space. That was one of the big challenges.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize the pressure that these guys go through. I mean, Harry had an enormously long career in football. That's not common.
It's not.
And they have to fight every year to be first or second string, or their job is on the line, or a standout special team player, So a lot of people don't understand the level of pressure that they go through, because getting cut is not fun.
It's not.
No. It's not. So let me ask you this. Are there any maybe 1 to 2 issues that you felt like during this season of life, these transitions from one career to the next, are there any issues that you feel like you had to overcome?
Yes. many. I think that, it always looks so great, the outside looking in. It always just looks so fancy and so amazing. And you get you're in this special spot, and everybody wants your spot.
Yeah. Or at least they think they do.
Yeah, at least they think they do. Yeah. Or they all think they could do it better than you. Or, I know that there are so many challenges, especially wives of professional athletes. There's in-law challenges, there's extended family challenges, because everybody kind of wants a piece of your guy. But for us, one of the things that really was very challenging was, of our 5 kids, 3 of our kids have ADHD. They have learning differences.
Yes.
And if there's anybody listening or watching that has an ADHD in their life, especially when they're young, you're probably nodding your head now when I say it is difficult. It can be very, very challenging to understand how God made your baby.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate that? So our oldest son was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that this young man had limitless energy, I mean, he had limitless energy. He was 100, go, like climbing on the furniture all over the place, talking to mom, blah, 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 or he was like knocked out in bed. And because I was having babies after baby after baby, this was very challenging for Harry and I in our marriage, because he just didn't, he had a different approach to it than I did. I'm like reading every article I could possibly read, and there wasn't a lot out there. Chris is 21 now.
Yeah.
And Harry was very much in his, professional but dad space. And I felt very, very lonely. We didn't agree on how to nurture or discipline Chris. There was so much tension. We didn't know that Chris had some, anxiety issues. Praise God, he does not have them anymore.
Yeah.
And so we were just sort of in this very difficult space where we just didn't have a roadmap. And we didn't agree on the directions that we were supposed to go in. And so that just created argument after argument and tears after tears and, a lot of very, very difficult conversations. That was very, very hard. And then we had 2 more kids that got diagnosed, and we had a middle daughter with a very, very severe cleft lip and palate journey. So when it came to being in agreement about the challenges the kids were facing, those were hard times, really hard times.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I think for the men, it's harder to wrap their head around it. Like, they just think of, especially athletes, especially men that are used to discipline and, physically putting their bodies to the test. So it's like you could achieve anything with discipline, but children with ADD or ADHD, they don't respond the same to the things that children who don't have it would respond to, and I totally get it because one of my children has it as well. I won't say which one because I didn't get permission. I should have gotten permission because I knew we were going to discuss this, but nonetheless, I know how that feels because I remember Ray's mom saying, man, I think my grandchild has been on punishment for a year. And that's because we had no idea. You know what I mean? We just didn't know what was going on.
Exactly.
My child didn't have the hyperactivity. So the school didn't pick it up and we didn't pick it up. And so it was just like, what is going on? We're doing homework till midnight every night. And so, I totally get it. And I love the fact that that's a part of your services as a coach because you've been in the trenches. So, you get it. You, like you said, you've read everything. And I've appreciated our conversation. It's been very soothing for me just knowing that somebody gets me and gets my journey, And I think it would do the men well too to get together and have a group, where they can discuss it because it is a challenge.
It is, and I remember years after Harry and I had sort of worked through everything, and Harry, to his credit, when he started to understand, essentially just sort of like the way his kids were designed. He was all in, and he was all in, which was so beautiful. But I remember we're coming to a space where we could have like a civil and healthy discussion about it. And I asked him, I said, babe, why was it so hard, early on for us to, because he would not even say ADHD. He wouldn't even say the word. I said, why wouldn't, it was almost like he just, wouldn't even acknowledge it. And he said, I guess deep down, I just didn't want anything to be wrong with my son. And I know now that there isn't anything wrong with him. He has a different design. But it took me a while to kind of see that, for God to show me that.
Man.
And that's a really, really healthy perspective. That transformed not just our conversations about learning differences, but it was that softness and that humility that opened the door for us to address so many of our other challenges. Because, Michelle, early on, I was ready to leave Harry. I was ready I was done. I would pull up into the driveway and see his car, and I would just, I don't need to see him right now. And I was not ready somewhere else. So this healing journey, it's multifaceted, of course, but that was a beautiful, beautiful space to be allowed into the heart of my husband, because that's a very vulnerable space.
Yeah, Talk about wife for life. Man, you did that. You
Yeah,
did
girl.
that. Seriously, because some people would give up, you know. And so I love your story because I can only imagine, first of all, just having 4 children myself, and Ray being in and out of town.
Yes.
Mentally, I thought I was losing it. I did. But on top of that, for us to have children that have challenges that are unknown to us, not to mention not well studied yet. Oh my goodness, how was your mental health during that time? And how did you, deal with it? How did you take it all in but not spew anger all the time?
Oh, well, I did spew anger.
You
I mean,
vented. That was one
if
way.
we're gonna be real, I mean, like,
Let's be real.
I mean, I didn't handle it, a lot of it, very well. I
Mhm.
was just overwhelmed. I yelled a lot. And I hadn't done any of the deep work associated with my severe childhood trauma. So,
Come on.
so it was very much, I was just in the Bible every day. And that was so critical for me. I mean, God really rescued not only my soul, but so often just devouring the word.
Mhm.
It just it saved my day. It
Mm.
saved I so meditated on the fruit of the spirit, and I so desperately wanted to reflect those in my parenting. Just gentleness and goodness and love and joy and peace and kindness and faithfulness and self-control. Like, I mean, I just remember having that verse posted everywhere, just trying to just get that into my system, into my sinews, into my cells.
Mm.
But I made a lot of mistakes. My mental health was, I mean, I was stable as a woman and as a mother and as a wife, but inside there were just days where I would just open my eyes and I would just be like, Lord, I'm just dying. I cannot do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't parented very well. So I didn't have a great foundation to,
Yeah.
to stand on. And I just remember the Lord saying over and over and over again,
Mhm.
I am your father. I will teach you how to parent.
Wow.
I am your heavenly father. Watch me. Look at what I do in the word. I will teach you how to parent the babies I've given you.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he
He
did.
really, really did.
I love that. One of the things that I really love about that is, it's a little saying that's gone out on social media saying, check on your strong friends.
Yes.
Because I believe that what I saw in you was so much strength and so much grace. And, you just on the outside, like you said, you just seem like, I got this all together. 5 kids, please. I could do this in my sleep. You know what I mean? But if nobody comes and says, "Hey girl, how you doing?" I
Yeah.
know what it looks like, but what's really going on,
Mhm.
If nobody comes and asks you that, you do suffer alone.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
So when I think about that, do you have a cohort? Do you have friends? Did you build a support system? How socially did you get through the trauma, the triggers, the dealings with your family, your wifehood? How did you, do that alone? Or did
I
you
had
do
a
it
good
alone?
I had a good circle of friends. I had a very, very good circle of friends. And I think that this is key for every woman. I had a good circle of friends that had generational diversity. So I had women in my life who were older than I was, who were a couple seasons ahead of me, who were godly and who could give me perspective. Because when you're in the trenches of parenting, during the football season, during the summer, during training camp, or when your husband is transitioning out of, professional athletics, you need perspective. You need somebody who knows you and loves you and who's going to be able to look at the landscape of your life and say, okay, it's going to be all right. Or you may want to look into that one. That might be your red flag. That might be something more serious. So having a good group of close-knit friends, having them to be generationally diverse, That really, really saved me. I had a really strong church home with a lot of older church mothers who
Yes.
they just loved on me. They just helped. They just told me everything was going to be okay. And so often you just need to know that everything's going to be okay. So that was key for me. I mean, I had really, really good people that I could call when I just couldn't even see straight with all of the babies and everything that was going on, all the doctor's appointments and all those things. And I think it can be very isolating, especially if you're in a position of affluence or influence.
Yes.
I think that's Rick Warren calls them, like affluence or influence.
Mm-hmm.
And so people do expect you to just be okay all the time. But there's an interesting dynamic when you are married or with a person in professional athletics. There is a need to protect his reputation and his identity. And I can't even imagine what these wives are doing now with social media, because now he's a brand.
Yes.
And so that was another part of why you saw that in me. It was making sure that Harry's reputation was protected, because, you know, within the realm of a team, you know, people talk. There's all this stuff. There's all this gossip. There's all these unhealthy patterns within any given organization. I mean, a family or a professional, you know, football team.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very much one of my ways to guard him,
mm-hmm.
was that I would have it together in the forward facing.
Yes.
And internally, I made sure that I had support. You have to have support. I wasn't in counseling at that time. That came later.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, yes, hundreds of hours of counseling. Jesus and therapy, like that's the secret sauce right there. It really is.
Yes, I love that. I'm a strong advocate of counseling or coaching or just some type of help. We got to get some type of help, you know, but also surrounding ourselves with healthy friendships, you know, healthy mentors, you know, healthy people around us. Not perfect. We're, you know, not perfection. Nobody's that, but people that are for your marriage, for your family, for your well-being, you know. That's so important. That is very important. So that's great. Let me ask you this. If you had something that you would do differently, what would that be?
Oh gosh. I just literally this like a ticker tape is when we should do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. If there was one thing that I would do differently, I probably would have made my mental health in the form of counseling more of a priority. I would have gone sooner. I would have definitely have gone sooner. Because the healing that I know now, the wholeness that I know now,
mm-hmm.
I can't even believe how beautiful my internal world is.
Yeah.
So you have this external world that's, you know, it's very complex. It's very multifaceted. It can be very complicated. And that can be very challenging to navigate if your internal world is also complicated and very tangled up and entangled in things. And my internal world was so chaotic, and it was so full of, honestly, torment. And my inner narrative was just so abusive, the way that I used to speak to myself.
Wow.
Having to try to honor God in that inner world, and then trying to honor him in my external world, it was exhausting all the time. And going through a healing journey and finding great, you know, mental health support, great counseling. God led me to a life-changing counselor. I'm astonished at the peace and the joy and the pleasure and the delight that I have in myself. I mean, I just like myself. I just love to hang out with me. I just think that I am fabulous and wonderful and amazing and godly and not perfect,
Yes.
but I am a lot of fun. And
Yeah, you are.
I love that. So I remember waking up, before this journey and just already being in pain. Just as soon as I open my eyes, just
Wow.
already being in pain. And now opening my eyes and being in joy and just being like, Lord, it's me and you today. What are we going to do today? I'm so happy to be here. It's just,
yes.
I would have done that a lot sooner. And my children and my husband benefit greatly.
Come on.
From that journey. My legacy is different because I've undertaken that journey. And God has been faithful to bless it and to heal. Yeah, I would do that.
Amen. I love that. And I love that you are unapologetically you. Like you're
courageous.
Yes.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yes. Yes. First of all, I believe anyone who can go on social media on a regular basis and show up as themselves, courageous, awesome, unapologetically themselves. Because that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. For some people, they feel like they always have to be on. If you can somehow be in that space, show up as yourself and be confident in that, you won. But see, I believe you were able to get to that because you did the self-work. Self-work is so important. I coach a lot of couples, have since 2008. And this is the thing that rings true. If we don't work on ourselves, this marriage doesn't work. A lot of people want to focus on the interaction between the two, but the interaction between the two starts with each individual. And if each individual has not done the work on themselves, then guess what? When you come together, it's going to be fireworks and not the good kind.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you are advocating for working on self. That's the worst thing my clients want to hear when they're going through. When I say, listen, the solution is in your self-work. They're like, no, but you got to fix her. You got to fix him. I don't, because you can still have joy in your heart despite the trials and tribulations, the trauma and the triggers. You can still have joy in your heart if you are working on yourself, because it gives you great pride and great peace. Because you're growing and you're getting better. And that's what I hear in you.
Yeah, and I think that's so key because you're worth fighting for.
Come on, say that again.
You're worth that work. And I think that's, you're talking about, sort of like your coaching practice and my coaching practice too. That's something that's often such a lie.
Yeah.
That wives believe that, the kids are more important, or Hubs is more important, or I have to have this together. And that might be true. Like, that's part of the reason why I developed the MamaStrong method, which is the way it's like my coaching framework, but it's also how I prioritize my life. Yeah. It's master, me, marriage, motherhood, manner, money, mission, and ministry. In that order. So that's how we navigate those things. But that lie that I'm supposed to be last, in the method, it's master and then it's me. It's me. Because it's from me that all of this life-giving service and love comes out into my world.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of, I know this is true for me and for a lot of my clients, nobody really fought for us. Wow. Early on, or maybe in high school, or maybe in, grad school or college or whatever, nobody's really fighting for you. And I think that one of the best things that the Lord taught me was, one, he's always been fighting for me. But also that he has girded me up so that I can step onto the battlefield of my life and fight for me.
Yes.
And so there's no self-pity there. There's no, woe is me. There's none of that. It's No, I mean, and I might not look real good on the battlefield at first. I might get my butt whooped. I might, come off like this ain't for me. Forget that. Throw down all the armor and everything. But the more I stepped into that space, and the more whole I got, the more I was like, no, I belong here.
Come on.
I belong here. And as the Lord healed my marriage with Harry, I became safe enough for him to help. And he became safe enough for me to allow him to step on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so now, girl, when we got a problem, the two of us show up.
Woo.
In that space.
Yes.
Forget it.
Forget about it.
Forget it. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. We are formidable.
Yes.
Period. And
I
we
love
worked
that.
really hard to get there. That was
Mm-hmm.
a hard journey to get there, but it was worth it.
So worth it. I agree with you. When you do the work on self, then it like graduates to work on your marriage. And then you are formidable. I mean, like literally, I tell people all the time, I am more in love with Ray today
Yes.
than I was when I said I do.
Yes.
And it shows, people are like, man, we want what you have. You sure?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, you're gonna slow down.
Right. So listen.
Pump brakes. Like, wait a second now.
Yeah, you might want to rethink that.
Yes. But I love that when I went on my healing journey, it inspired Harry to go on one of his own.
Praise God.
And that was a beautiful space in our marriage as well.
And that's scripture. That's First Peter 3, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So let me ask you, you have this thriving business, and even though you have young adult children down to teenage children, they're still very much a part of your life. You have this marriage. How do you balance it all?
I think the MamaStrong method really is my kind of go-to for how to manage all the things. Because I was so overwhelmed for so long.
Yeah.
That I was just in front of the Lord saying, okay, look, something's got to give. Something's got to change. I'm not doing this right. And I don't mean right in the form of, my value. I just mean, I don't think that you mean for me to just be overwhelmed all the time, Lord. You're promising me abundant peace and all this joy. What am I missing here? And so I did a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of diving into scripture, a lot of praying and fasting, and asking God, Father, how do I balance this? And so that's where it's sort of like my catchphrase of balanced, grace-filled excellence came in. And every time I get overwhelmed and every time I drop a ball, because I do, every time I fail and something doesn't go right, I'll pause and I'll be like, right, Lord, because I'm not pursuing perfection. I'm pursuing balanced, grace-filled excellence.
Yes.
Which means that I get to fail because that's where the grace is.
Yes.
I get to be in equilibrium, and that's where the balance is. But I want to be excellent for God.
Yeah.
I want to be an excellent wife. I want to be an excellent mother, but not perfect. So that's sort of like the overarching idea. But then the other piece is, okay, that sounds great, but how? What do you do? And so I have regular resets of rest and Sabbathing every week. Now, I'm not bound to the law, but in general, I know I need that rest in order to be able to have something to give, because that's what we do as wives and as mothers. Yes. We are servant leaders. We give and give and give. And when they're little, it's a lot of the physical work. And the explanation of what we expect from them is more simplistic.
Yes.
But as they get older, this, when they get to hit young adulthood and teen years, it's much It's a lot less physical work, and it's a lot of being in the emotional trenches.
Yes.
What are the ideologies that are coming for my children today?
Woo. Come on.
And how can I teach them how to take in the world through their intellect and not their imagination?
Or emotion.
Or emotions, because that's all screens.
Yes.
And so having that, I have a really great routine, and I am able to touch and have singular attention on all the areas of my life that are important to me.
That's awesome.
Every week and every month. And that just has been the secret sauce for me. It's not perfect, but everything's kind of under control.
Yeah.
Kind of all the time.
Yeah.
For the most part. Check my qualitative language, right? In general,
yes,
we're moving. The machine is working. It is a well-oiled machine, and it's working.
You know what I hear you saying is, don't pursue perfection. Don't pursue perfection, but pursue progression.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't pursue perfection, pursue progression. Because I think, and that's why longevity, that's why being a wife for life is so important, because if you stay in it long enough, you'll see your growth.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You'll see his growth. You'll see your marriage's growth. You'll see your children's growth, and things get better. They get sweeter. They get better. I don't even want to go there. It might get too, But anyway, it gets better. So listen. I have loved having you. I want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And then I am going to let you go, unfortunately. So, my last question is, what advice would you give to our viewers and listeners on how to be a wife for life?
I don't like Christian-y phrases. I didn't grow up as a Christian, so the Christian-y stuff, like, I don't know, it's not really for me. Now I love Jesus, but I would say one of the best things, if I were to talk to my younger self,
okay,
I would say, honey, you need to set you some boundaries in that marriage. You need to do the work to understand your intrinsic value. Because of whose you are. You need to do the deeper work, because what you're doing is you're looking for your value in Harry as an extent. Somehow you're an extension of him. And that's not true. That's a lie.
Wow.
You are your own beautiful woman. You are an equal heir. You are a daughter of the king. And that sounds really, really great. But honey, I think you really need to dig deep to understand what that means.
Yes.
Really for you, so that when you step into your role as wife, you're stronger in your personhood, which makes you a better helper to the covenant. And that piece, that is so much of what we've been talking about, as far as, doing the deeper work and going to counseling and having support and all those things. But personally, I just know that if I were to say something to my younger self, it would be that you're formidable on your own. You're valuable on your own. And you're going to have to put some boundaries around your personhood, because yours is bleeding into his.
Ooh.
And you got to know where you end and he begins, and vice versa, because that's adulthood. That's healthy, godly adulthood, because he made us to become one. So I got to know what my one is as a part of that too, as I start to grow and shape. And I think the other one really is very, very quick. It's for life. It's a covenant. Yeah. Divorce should never touch your lips. I mean, I know there's deeper issues, and we're not here to talk about all those things. But for me, do the work to try to make it work. because what's on the other side, like you said, it just gets sweeter. Harry and I look at each other all the time like, can you believe that this is us?
Yes.
Do you believe what God has done? How much we love each other, how much we honor, respect each other. We're not jockeying for, prideful position and who's going to be first and on top and all that stuff. Can you believe what God has done?
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth it to fight for it.
It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love you. Thank you so
much.
much.
I'm so glad. This is so fun.
Thank you. Hey, listen, round 2.
Oh, I would love it.
Yay!
Anytime. Just let me know.
Awesome. Because it's some questions we didn't touch on.
I know. I know we were talking before and I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. It's going to be so rich. So,
yes. Thank you. You are valuable, and valuable definitely to AIM marriages, and valuable definitely to Wife for Life. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And thank you guys for joining us as well for another episode of Wife for Life. Until the next one, happy loving.